Everyone, welcome to Hand Rolled Real Estate. I'm Robbie. I'm here with Jay today, and we're smoking a Big Sky Madison. We're going to talk about land acquisition.
Hey everyone, I'm Junaid Noor. Thank you for joining us. Robbie, this is a really good cigar. It says it's made in Billings, Montana. So it's rolled here in the U.S. and it's got very nice flavor.
Yeah, it's got a really good smooth flavor, good draw. I'm pretty impressed with it. My son found these and actually met the owner, and I think they roll a pretty good stick. And I think it's a Nicaraguan filler, San Andreas binder, and I'll have to check on the wrapper. I can't remember the wrapper.
Yeah, it's a nice spicy taste, and I can tell it's Nicaraguan on the filler. But anyway, let's get into land acquisitions. This is right up your alley. You are our, chief acquisitions guy. You're the man who does all of our land acquisitions for Albany Park Capital. What are some of the things that let's start with some of the basic reasons why people think they should just go and buy land.
I think a lot of people that are getting started in the land acquisition, they've probably gone through some other levels of real estate, and now they're ready to do their own projects. Whether it be a new retail center, whether it be multifamily, they the land acquisition, buying raw land it's a new experience, and for me, it's very fulfilling. To find the right parcel, to put the right commercial building on it, and finish it, and be done with it, and it be successful. And I think people that try to take it to the next level, vertically integrate a little bit, they think that that's the next step, and for some people, it really is.
So, but what about for retail investors? Let's start with that rung. The retail investors who just go and buy land just to sit on it. Do you think it's a worthwhile investment for them?
There's some people that are really good at it, and there's some speculation that goes on. I know you and I were involved in a project, or were thinking about getting involved in a project, and a gentleman had the good fortune of having some property that was adjacent to a new Samsung facility. What a great spot to be in. And had he not owned that property, was he lucky, or did he create his own luck?
Well, yes. So it goes down to, land comes down to the price, right? If you inherited the land, that's one thing. But if you go out and try to buy land once Samsung has announced that they're going to build a factory there, obviously the land is going to go up in value. But what happens if Samsung never announces, or you think Samsung is going to announce and they don't? Now you're stuck with a piece of land that does what kind of returns?
Right. You better know what you're buying it for. What your original intent is. Make sure the numbers work. Land can get up there. I mean, we've got property here in Texas that's selling for 250, 275 a square foot, and then you've got some that's selling for 15 to $20 a square foot. And you better make sure that the numbers that you're putting together, support that land. And obviously, as you get further into your maturation as a land acquisition guy, or just in general for your developments, sometimes the really good deals aren't all that great, right? They've got some serious roadblocks to get to the finish line.
So let's talk about those serious roadblocks, right? Because a lot of people think land is land is land is land. Hey, I'm going to buy a piece of land and I'm going to pay a dollar a square foot for it, and I'll just hold on to it for 10 years and it'll be worth $10 because I see growth coming this way, right? So a lot of people will look at a map and say, okay, uh, 10 miles down the road, they're building new subdivisions, they're building new houses, they're building new retail. I think, this piece of land, they'll start building on it 10 years from now, and I'll just sit on it for 10 years. But just buying a piece of land is not enough, right? There are a lot of variations into what you need to look for. So let's talk about some of those pitfalls that people need to look out for, especially here in Texas.
Here in Texas, there's a number of challenges, and they can be unique to certain areas. I mean, like here in Harris County around Houston, it's flood. You got your floodplains, you got your floodways. You really have to pay attention. I mean, you'll see what you think is a great deal, be 20 acres, be a great price, and then Oh, there's only 4 usable acres. Okay, well, pass. And so the floodways are a big challenge. Always for every project is going to be, what are the local municipalities? How are you getting water? How are you getting your electricity? How are you getting all your utilities to site? And how long is that going to take? I was on a project recently that it took over 3 years to get all of the permitting done, all the water lines in place, everything that we needed to even begin construction. And long story short is we ended up having really poor timing. Um, we had acquired the property. We're going through the permitting process, and lo and behold, Bezos buys a plot of land, and he's going to build a really huge Amazon distribution center. And they decided that it was more important for them to get all their permitting done, to get all their water lines, to get that they were requiring so much water that they had to do a special return line. Ultimately, that ended up going through the parcel that I had purchased. We had to forfeit for a very nominal price, 2.8 acres, to make Amazon happy and their utilities. And we suffered dearly for it, but it was politics.
And I mean, politicians will always look for being reelected. And one of the things that gets them reelected is jobs and economy. And, unfortunately, you are no match for Jeff Bezos.
No, it wasn't going to happen. I mean, and agreed that he does, the millions and millions of dollars go out that door every day. But that's just kind of the challenge that you're faced with, that you really don't have. There's not a lot you can do unless, you've donated to the right people and you're in a commissioner's back pocket. You might be able to get that thing going.
Not that we're saying that politicians are corrupt.
Not at all.
Not at all. So one of the, go ahead.
But you can get their phone numbers at their dinner parties.
At the dinner parties, $10,000 a plate. One of the challenges I'll tell you that I faced in my construction career was we were brought out to build a retail shopping center, and a medical doctor had purchased it, and he thought he got a great deal. He said, I paid like $1.25 a square foot for the land, which is a great deal in a highly high traffic area. And when we got out there, it had pipelines. So it had gas pipelines, oil pipelines running right through those, and those are easements, and you can't really build on those. So the configuration of the retail had to be in a way where we can build a parking lot on top of the pipelines, which also has some special requirements there, but we can't build a permanent structure, right? So the idea being that in the event the pipeline needs to be repaired, they need to be able to break the concrete and get to the pipeline to repair it, because it's a public danger. But with another drive-through that he needed to put in and the pipelines, that I think it was a 5-acre tract of property was really only 2 acres, and he really couldn't build what he wanted to build. But he didn't have the foresight, right? He didn't know what he was buying. He just thought, hey, I'm getting a cheap deal. Let's go for it.
Yeah, no, I've seen several projects get snagged because of pipelines and not understand them. Even sometimes you'll see and you'll get your survey and it'll say abandoned pipeline, but those easements are still there. And unless you have a good legal team or hire a good attorney, it takes some time to get those removed from the official surveys, and they won't let you build a permanent structure on top of them. And talking about pipelines, I mean, Albany Park just acquired a new parcel for one of our new projects, and it happened to have a pipeline on an adjacent tract, but it was close enough that it actually impacted our overall layout and development of the project, and we had to mitigate for the blast zone. So it was those things that, had we not had the experience and we not had the team identify these issues, it's some cost that could have snuck up on us and crept up on you later if you really didn't find it in due diligence.
Yeah, and so one of the other issues with land that people need to look out for are, the variations in the topography, right? So how much it dips, how much it rises, the number of trees, because trees can be expensive to remove to clear all that land up. And then the other thing that they need to look out for is, like you said, floodplain. But let's talk about the topography a little bit, so our audience can understand what that means and how that affects the land.
When you get into the elevations and the topography of these different parcels, we had an opportunity to invest with a group that had a parcel, and it was a large parcel. It was 27 acres. They had ample room to do what they wanted, but they had a lot of unique challenges because of the elevation differences in the property. They had a creek to deal with, and then they had floodway and floodplain to deal with. So, trying to get your property to grade, it was going to be rather expensive. And we were going to have to budget for a bridge, an actual bridge over the creek. There was just a lot of different challenges because of the height difference in elevation and the overall elevation of the project to be out of the floodway.
And trees are not, especially if they're large, mature trees, it could be very expensive to get rid of them and clear them.
That property was 100% covered with 20-year-old mature pines and oaks. Our price that we got for the removal of those trees was $890,000. So it was going to be a serious impact to the bottom line just to remove those trees.
And one of the other issues that people need to be aware of, and again, if people are buying land to hold on to for 10 years, it may not affect them as much. But for us who we buy land to develop on it and build on it right away, is the highest and best use. And the highest and best use can be different depending on what kind of development you're doing. So for example, if we do a single family house development, we can do it further out as long as it's accessible to major highways, without having to worry about whether there's any commercial shopping or commercial availability of grocery stores and other commercial centers. Because once you build that subdivision with 250 or 300 houses, the commercial will follow. On the other hand, if the highest and best use is going to be a BTR, which is going to be a similar subdivision of 300 homes, but they're all going to be rental, well, you're not going to get renters out there who don't already have shopping centers nearby. And the shopping centers may take some time to follow because those renters may not rent the property and your property may stay vacant for a long, long, long time. So, highest and best use and what you're buying it for is very important as to the location, the distance from shopping, and the price you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the other things, you talk about building a subdivision, you talk about retail, you talk about all these different commercial applications and residential applications. People neglect or don't think through actual capacity on your water. Jay and I have some realtors out there, and they bring us some good deals from time to time. And we get this one in this particular area, and it was a good deal. The price was right. The guy had already gotten it to the permitting stage, had drawings done, and the price was still good. And you know, we kind of question, why is he taking it this far and one out, right? And we're thinking maybe he needs money, maybe he's strapped for cash. And then as we're looking at this and doing our due diligence and running the underwriting, we'll pop another deal similar in the same area. It comes up, and we start looking at it, and we're like, is this a coincidence or what's going on? Well, we dug in a little bit further, and through some of our contacts, we found out, lo and behold, they can't get the water capacity. They were out of capacity in that area. So these developers were pretty much high and dry. They could support a single family connection, but these guys were buying what were single family connection lots. They were large enough to, in some cases, put 24 and 25 units on. And because it was an opportunity zone, a lot of people dumped money into the area, and they ate up all the capacity of the mud. And so these guys didn't get their letters, a guaranteed capacity letters from the mud, and ultimately they can't do their projects.
So for those of you guys who are listening who don't know what a MUD is, a very Texas-specific item, which stands for Municipal Utility District, and they are the district that provides the water and remove the sanitation from the property that we have. But yeah, utilities is a big deal. One of the other properties, if you remember, we were looking at on east side of Texas, where 99 just opened up. Nice piece of land, very inexpensive. It's growing rapidly because the exit to 99 just opened up. However, when we dug into it, same thing. Water and sewer lines were not going to be there for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And if you don't have the finances to make that happen and wait for 3 years, or that's not in your game plan, it's really important to do all the due diligence. The utilities are invaluable. The pipelines, I mean, they can really, like what you were saying with your parcel, the guy had a 5 acre tract and he could only build on 2 acres of it. And so you really got to pay attention to those types of things, and understanding the municipality where each individual parcel is important. Try to get before, when you sign your deal on your property, try to get as much due diligence time period as you can, 90 days, 120 days, and use that wisely. Go to the county or the local municipality that it's in and present your project to them, and let them say, yes, this is a good project. We support this. Get everybody to look at it that you can, and really it helps you protect your money in the long run.
Well, one last item that I want to talk about that people kind of take it for granted, especially people like me who have lived in high density areas all the time. But because you live in a little bit more of a rural area, gas lines, and for a single family home, having an electric heating system is okay. But if you build a multifamily and there are no gas lines there to put in all electrical heating systems, well, those bills are going to go through the roof. And your renters are, once they start getting their bills, they're not going to renew their leases, and you're going to wind up with a lot of vacancy.
Yeah, no, here in Texas, it is a little bit different, and you're 100% right. You've got to have gas to make these projects work right. I mean, and you even get AC companies come out, and they're unfamiliar with strip heaters or heat pumps, and you really have to stick with your gas heaters, and it's way more economical as well.
So we hope everyone enjoyed this episode. We talked about land acquisitions. We talked about one of the acquisitions that we're doing. We're going to be coming up with we're going to be sending a deal for a multifamily new construction project out to all of our investors,
Accredited investor.
accredited investors only. But this is a very important topic, and the reason I thought of this topic was because I was speaking with one of our investors, and she said, I'm investing in a land. I'm buying land, and I got to talking with her, and I was like, "Are you building a house for yourself?" And no, we're just going to buy land and we're going to sit on it. And so I started talking, and I started asking her that, do you know the utilities? Do you know what you're getting into? And she didn't know any of it. She's an attorney. And she's an immigration attorney. She's not a land attorney, right? And so I figured that, there's a lot of other people who are thinking of investing in land because, people always talk about, oh, they're not making more land, so land is the best investment. It can be, but you really have to do your due diligence.
Yeah, and as you're starting out, make those relationships with your realtors. There are some gyms out there that will really take care of you, and hopefully have your best interest at heart. I mean, ultimately, they want to sell a piece of property. But if you find the right one and you identify your project that you want to do, there's some select realtors out there that can really give you an advantage.
So we hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit us up on albanyparkcapital.com. Click the resources tab. We got a lot of free articles for everybody. And feel free to post some questions if you have some questions regarding this episode or episodes before this.
Jump on our website, our YouTube, open a podcast, read an article, and enjoy a Big Sky Madison. It's a pretty good smoke.
It is. Thank you very much.